is going on, Dynasty Warzone listeners? You have found the first ever episode of the Dynasty War Games. So I am Jesse Schneeman. I'm joined by Mike Casper and Chad Mendoza. And we're just some guys that love Dynasty fantasy football, love fantasy football in general, love football in general. We're all obsessed. We met in the Dynasty Warzone Patreon chat where we were in a few leagues together. And we had some time on our hands. We had some extra passion on our hands. So we decided to start a podcast of our own, which has been behind a paywall for the last, 7-8 months. We've been reviewing Patreon leagues for Dynasty Warzone. And what kind of came out of that is that we realized we just like to play games and have fun. So, we're going to talk about Dynasty football. We're going to get some really good conversations going. We're going to learn a little bit, hopefully. But more than anything, we're just going to have fun. We're going to play games, and we're going to, I think all of us that play fantasy football have huge competitive streaks. So why not play games while we're learning, right? So, Chad, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Your experience in fantasy football, and I guess maybe what led you to Dynasty Warzone.
Yeah. I've been playing Dynasty for it seems like forever now, and I started I co-owned my first league with my dad in I think 2004, I think it was now. I've been playing Dynasty a long time, but I never really got into the whole media frenzy of Dynasty and Twitter and all that kind of stuff until about a year and a half or 2 years ago now. And that's how I found the Warzone. So, seemed like a great group of guys who knew what they were talking about, and, why wouldn't you want to be here? So.
Yeah, right on. I think we all have pretty similar stories, but Mike, what's your fantasy experience and what's your Dynasty experience? And, same questions, basically.
Yeah, so I kind of picked up redraft again in 2016. I was deployed in Afghanistan, and we had a live draft out there in the desert. And I really enjoyed it. Nearly won the league, got second place. Then I played redraft for another year, and I was winning leagues really easily and heard about Dynasty. And I was like, well, let's try this thing out. So I'm going into my 4th or 5th year now, I want to say, for Dynasty. And then I was just a big podcast junkie, ran across the Dynasty Warzone, listened to, some of Memphis's, not just his opinions on stuff, but the way he talks about building Dynasty teams. And I kind of had the same thoughts on values and kind of process, I guess you could say. Did a couple contractors with them and really enjoyed it. So brought me to the Patreon, and here I am. Something I've always wanted to do is just sit down and talk Dynasty fantasy football.
Right on. Yeah. Same with me. So I've been doing redraft since mid to late 90s. And a few years ago, one of my redraft leagues that I've been in forever, we decided to start a Dynasty league. So that was, they started without me. I took over an orphan a few years ago, and I just kind of was playing it like a redraft and not really improving my team, made some bad trades, and wasn't real happy with my progress. So, I kind of was the same. I was turned into sort of a podcast junkie. I was commuting an hour and a half, each way to and from work every day in the DC area. So I had a lot of time for podcasts, and I kind of stumbled on the contractor, and I really like the way Memphis talks about it. With him, it's more about, not just Memphis, Jerry as well. It's more about roster construction and the philosophy behind Dynasty and how to build a team rather than just player values, just whether I like this or that player. So I was on contractor a couple times as well, and he drastically improved my team. I made the playoffs in my second year, and I have to give him tons of credit for how he helped my team. So I joined the Patreon. I had a lot of time during quarantine, COVID. Joined some of these leagues, started drafting Dynasty teams. And, I started 2 years ago in the Dynasty Warzone Patreon, drafted a set of teams that are all, I thought they were going to be great, and they're all rebuilds now, right? But then the next year, just from hanging out in this Shark Tank, with this group of sharks, you guys and all the other guys in the chat, Memphis and Jerry and all those guys, I drafted another group of startups and won 2 championships. So that in no small part, I credit Dynasty Warzone and our conversations, just talking back and forth with you guys and bouncing ideas off of you guys. I have to say, like, I was really against, say, like, Jerry's build through young wide receivers at first, because that's such a, redraft one quarterback mentality. You got to get those stud running backs. And I mean, now I'm just, I don't really care about position that much anymore. It's more about, well, we'll get into a lot of our philosophy going forward, but anyway, it's more, it's more about, how to build a team the right way, I guess, but we'll get into what the right way is as we go forward. So anyway, the reason we're here is to play games, right? Sorry, I got a little long-winded on that. So in our older episodes, we used to edit stuff like that out. I don't think we're going to have a chance for that now. But yeah, so we're going to get into some games. Tonight we are going to play rookie landing spot game. So the way this works is I'm going to throw out a rookie and tell you a little bit about him. For those listeners out there that don't know anything about this rookie, we'll give you stats, a little overview, and then Mike and Chad are both going to give me landing spots, and I'm going to grade those landing spots with a 1 to 5 grade, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. All right. And at the end of all this, we're going to go through as many quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends as we can in about an hour and 15 minutes. And at the end, I'll add them all up and we'll average them, and we'll see who the winner is. So part of Dynasty War Games is we're going to keep running totals, right? So it's not just did you win this game? It's did you win this game? Did you win last week's game? And, so we'll have a running tally going, and we'll probably keep a differential as well.
Kind of like around the horn kind of a thing where you tally up all the career wins.
Oh, yeah, I guess. Okay. Yeah, I stopped. I can't stand that Woody.
I stopped watching it years ago, too. But,
yeah.
Hey, but he's the Broncos reporter, so yeah, there you go.
Okay. All right. Way to kill the originality of
Sorry, jeez.
But it's going to be a running competition, right? So sometimes Chad will be the judge, sometimes Mike will be the judge, sometimes I'll be the judge. Just depends on the game. Tonight, I'm going to be the judge. So can we take a minute? Chad, do you want to go through chat a little bit? We have some funny comments.
Yeah. So, oh gosh, cherry popping daddy. Who's that for?
I don't know.
That's for us. I think cherry pop on the actual feed. Yeah.
Nice. So we are gonna keep this as family friendly as possible, but once in a while, just if your kids are around, we might slip.
Maybe it's because it's Stacey's first time listening to us too, so could be that.
We're gonna expect Jesse to do math, but we'll always double check it, so we'll keep the calculator close.
I do the new math.
Yeah,
I got a calculator on my watch. All right, let's do it. Let's get it.
Let's get into these. Let's get into these players.
Awesome. All right, let's start with quarterbacks, right? I mean, why bury the headline? That's
what else would we start with?
Right. So we're going to go Matt Corral, Ole Miss. He is 6 foot, 200 pounds from Ventura, California. 3,349 passing yards this year, 20 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 80.5 QBR. So really last year's numbers were pretty similar. He had 9 more touchdowns. He also had 9 more interceptions. But from what I understand, from other pods and from other people that I've listened to, he's taken a huge leap forward in his decision-making and his anticipation, basically his mental QB skills. So I think that's what has kind of got him in consideration to be the first quarterback off the board. Another thing of note with him is that he got injured in his last game. And what was it, a fractured ankle? Or
no, I think he has a high ankle sprain.
High ankle sprain.
Yeah, he's going to be fine. It shouldn't impact anything.
Okay, so probably 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah, he'll be good to go by the time the draft runs around for sure. Shouldn't really be anything serious. Thank goodness.
All right, let's start with Mike.
Yeah,
who you got for a landing spot for Corral?
I got to start first because Stacy already stole my thunder in the chat and said Corral to the Washington football team. So football team's picking at 11, which I think is a good spot for Corral. I don't know if you mentioned it too, Jesse. He had over 600 yards rushing and 11 touchdowns on the ground too. He was a pretty efficient passer and runner. Beat the crap out of my Aggies when it was kind of our last ditch effort to try to, get in there for the football playoff. But he did really well. I think his injury is unfortunate, but I don't think it's serious enough where it's really going to drop him down the board. I think the football team kind of figured out they don't have it in Heineke or Fitzmagic, so I could definitely see Ron Rivera he's not exactly a Cam Newton type, of course, but having that dual threat capability, I think could really bode well for McLaurin and Gibson. So give me Washington football team for Matt Corral at pick 11.
Oh yeah, they definitely need a quarterback. It remains to be seen whether they draft a guy or bring a veteran in. But all right, cool. Yeah, definitely a team that needs a quarterback. Mike, or I'm sorry, Chad. What do you got?
Yeah, I really like Mike's landing spot. That was actually my first thought as well, but I just see them bringing in a vet there in Washington. I don't know. Plus, I wanted to be a little bit different. This is a game, right? So I ended up sticking Matt Corral with the Panthers at number 6. I think he's going to run a really fun RPO offense. It's going to do really, really good in that offense, especially if they keep Christian McCaffrey there. And yeah, that rushing ability, I mean, it's really, really good. His arm strength isn't crazy. But yeah, really good pocket awareness. And I think that RPO is going to mask a lot of flaws with him, as far as the arm strength and all that stuff goes. Plus, when you're dumping it off to McCaffrey, 10 times a game, that's how you're going to get the majority of yards anyways. So
definitely helps. So let me ask you this, before I grade these, what would you say they do with Darnold in this scenario? So they've already said they're bringing Darnold back. I mean, they could definitely, back out on that, but what do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I can definitely see them keeping Darnold another year. I don't think that means even if they keep him that they're not going to draft a guy. I think if they fall in love with the guy during the process, that they're just going to take him. Quarterback's too important to just throw it away for a guy who hasn't been successful at all in the NFL. So,
okay. I think it's a good landing spot. I don't think it's awesome, the Panthers, because he's got another young quarterback, obviously with competition. I would like it more if there was a veteran quarterback sort of on his way out that could maybe mentor him, sort of like Washington might have with Fitz, if they decide to bring Fitz back for another year. I don't know Ryan Fitzpatrick personally, and I'm not sure that he's the right person to mentor a young quarterback. I do know that he's got the right locker room attitude that, he wants to play, but if he's on the bench, he's not going to create a problem, is what I'm saying. I'm going to give the football team a 4 and the Panthers a 3. I think they're both good. I don't know if there is a 5 in this right now.
Yeah.
A 5 would be ready-made, great offensive line, great weapons, great. I think Washington's missing the offensive line, basically, and running game. Panthers are missing probably some offensive line, and I don't love their wide receivers. And actually, I think Washington could stand to add a weapon or two as well. So I mean, 4 is really good, and 3 is pretty good, right? What do you guys? You good with that? Any objections?
No, I mean, I really went with just where I think they might go. I didn't.
Okay.
So. Yeah, I was thinking more on like what spots make sense, and also makes sense with like the draft capital that the team would put into them. So, I mean, I get what Chad's saying. David Tepper probably wants his quarterback sooner than later. I could see a QB competition there, if anything. So, either way, it would be fun.
Wow. So can you click on Josh's comment, please?
Oh, that has to be a joke.
Photogenic bunch.
Y'all are a photogenic bunch.
Cheers to that, brother. So that's Big Dog in DWZ Patreon for anyone out there that's in the Patreon. That's Josh Dessinger. One of our
radio.
Yes, we do have Faces for Radio. He is one of our premier Patreon members.
Absolutely.
All right.
So Dave Donaldson wants me to explain my scoring system. I think I just did. So it's just whatever I think.
Yeah.
So
it's whatever he feels like at the time.
So veterans of our Patreon podcast will recognize the scoring system as it's whatever I feel in the moment. So that's my scoring system. All right, let's move on to number 2 quarterback in our game. I don't know what's going to happen in the NFL draft, but we got Kenny Pickett from Pitt. Right, he is 6'3", 220, so he's definitely a bigger dude. 4,319 yards, 42 touchdowns, 7 picks, 81.2 QBR. It looks like he took a huge jump this year, right? Last year, he had 2,400 yards. The year before, he had 3,000 yards, 13 touchdowns each year. So definitely took a huge jump this year. I don't know a whole lot about Kenny Pickett personally. I don't. It's real. I'm not going to try to. Oh, this.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll kick
I'm not
it off.
going to. Yeah. Please tell us what you know about him, and then give us your landing spot.
So I mean, like you were saying, he did kind of have a really, really, really good year this year. In 2020, he had an ankle injury, and was pretty inconsistent. Just in 2020 overall, he wasn't really that good. He has, man, when he throws a ball, there's some pace on that thing. Like it's a really pretty ball. He's really accurate. He's started a lot of games. I think over 55. I'm off the top of my head. I think it has to be over 55 games that he started for, in the CFB. And then Pitt runs a pro style offense, so that always bodes well. I think, in my opinion, he's my favorite quarterback in the class, personally, and I think he's. I don't think that any of these quarterback prospects are really, really, really good. Not like the last few years that we've seen, where you have one that is just like the top tier kind of guy. But I think as we get along this draft process, people are going to start falling in love with Kenny Pickett. And I have him going what most people are going to call really high, number 2 to the Lions.
Number 2 to the Lions. Wow.
Nice.
All right. Mike, what do you think?
Yeah, so I've been just from what I've been listening to, he's getting a lot of Mac Jones-ish hype, but also Joe Burrow 1-year wonder kind of hype thing. We got in the chat. Brian Ford said he's getting the small hands criticism. I could give 2 craps about what their hands look like. They throw a football, and if they throw a football well, I don't care how big their hands are.
Alex Smith. Alex Smith was Captain Tiny Hands.
Yeah, right. So I got an interesting spot. I just, thinking about the Mac Jones thing, kind of how he fell. I know a lot of people do like Pickett and think he's kind of the more pro-ready kind of quarterback, but with not as much upside you could see from the other quarterbacks as far as if they're able to develop them. So I want him to go home. I want him to stay home, go at 20 to Pittsburgh. I think that would be really exciting with Deontay Johnson, Claypool, Freiermuth, someone that can actually hit Claypool deep. Big Ben's out the door. I feel like if they don't land an Aaron Rodgers or one of these big, a Watson or Russell Wilson, if that's even still a thing, then I'd like to see him go after a rookie quarterback like Pickett. So I'm going to say Pickett to Pittsburgh at 20 or earlier if they trade up for him.
Okay.
I need something to root for.
All right. So there's a little bit to unpack here. So number one, I think that if a quarterback goes number 2 overall, there's a lot higher investment than number 20 overall. Right. So right there, that has to go into consideration for landing spot. Also, all right, so we have to consider what's the franchise that we're going to historically, right? We're going to the Lions or the Steelers. So obviously opposite paths for these two franchises. So that's sort of a plus mark for Pittsburgh. I do love that he went to Pitt, right? So the fans kind of are already going to know him, and maybe that's good, maybe that's bad. Maybe there's a lot of Pitt fans that don't really want him to play for the Steelers. I don't know how that'll go, but it feels like, he's not from Pittsburgh, but it feels like a little bit of a hometown sort of event.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh definitely has better weapons right now, but the Lions, I think, have a better line. Pittsburgh's line is putrid, and the Lions got real injured on their line. It didn't play great, but they've got Penei Sewell, and I think they took another young lineman the year before that was playing really well. So I think they're building their line. I think they've got more going for them on their line than Pittsburgh. I kind of like both of these landing spots. The fact that Pittsburgh is number 20, the 20th pick, and the Lions are the number 2 pick, I think is a huge difference to me in landing spot, because that number 2 pick just from a dynasty perspective guarantees that guy is going to hold his value.
Yeah,
right?
I really.
So we're talking from dynasty perspective. He's going to hold his value. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Chad.
If he would make it to 20, that Pittsburgh, they would be getting a steal there. I just don't see him getting outside of the top 10. I think if one quarterback goes in the top 10, and you asked me today, I think it hands down has to be Kenny Pickett.
Just like Mac Jones shouldn't have made it out of the top 10.
I'm going to get it. Just mostly for the draft capital reason, I'm going to give Pittsburgh a 3 and the Lions a 4, because I think when it comes to offensive line and weapons, if you lump those two together, I actually think they're fairly even, because the Steelers have better weapons but a crap line. The Lions have a better young line, I think, and crap weapons.
Worse weapons.
Yeah,
but
let's not forget too. The Lions also have pick 27. So
I was about to say, I think it's easier and quicker to build your weapons than it is a line. You got to start early, and a line has to have time to come together, and you can't just throw a bunch of rookies together and high picks together and say that's an offensive line. It just doesn't really takes time for an offensive line anyway.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Josh in the chat here. He says I think the Lions might load up around him another year with the Jared Goff experiment, and I kind of agree. I don't know if they think they're ready to throw a rookie to the fire. But
they might, or they might. Or they might do what Cleveland did with who was it, Clausen, that they took at the end of the first round that one year. They had a couple high firsts, and they took really good players, and then really good defensive and offensive players, and then took their quarterback late, and it just really didn't turn out well at all for them. But maybe that's what the Lions do, is take whatever quarterback falls to the end of the first, whether it's, Malik Willis or who knows how this is going to go at this point. Maybe even Howell falls down that far. I don't know.
Yeah, a lot of the rumors are that there might not be a QB taken in the top 10 from what I've been hearing.
Yeah.
Which, whether that happens with, the draft and the Senior Bowl and all the lead up to it, I'm sure it could shoot somebody up into the top 10. But if a few guys. If it doesn't happen, though, I think it's interesting for Dynasty when you think of these teams that are most of the time better teams picking at the end of the first round, like at the end of the first round, right? Because they're better teams. So it would be really interesting to see.
We've just seen like too many times where quarterbacks have, even though the class may not be good, they're forced up because they're just graded against themselves.
A quarterback, yeah,
right,
exactly.
yeah.
Right.
That's
they're
just
not graded against the year before.
Yeah,
exactly. You can't draft the guys from the year before, so they're not great against them. So it's like, all right, think about the Goff year. At this time in the Goff year, Carson Wentz was not really considered a first round pick yet. And he went 2 overall.
Yeah.
So
even guys like Baker Mayfield, who just had this late surgence into the top 5, like out of nowhere.
Yeah, that's a good one too. Tannehill was another one that just like out of nowhere went top. He went what? Maybe he went 11th. Not sure. Mahomes was another one. There was a
Zach
late
Wilson
riser.
was another one.
Yeah. So Dave Donaldson asks in chat, why would the Lions pass on Thibodeau or Karlaftis? My answer is
better players, but
I wouldn't, but it's the Lions. And
it's
that's your answer.
it's just, I mean, they're better. Obviously, Thibodeau and Karlaftis are better players, and Karlaftis, I mean, he's going to test crazy. He looks like he's an insane athlete. I think his stock's only going to go up. But at the end of the day, if a team likes a quarterback, they're going to pick the quarterback.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
History's shown that. So I'm giving Pittsburgh a 3 as a landing spot because the draft capital is diminished, and I don't think it's hugely realistic. And I'm giving the Lions a 4 because if he goes number 2 overall, then they're going to give him every single chance to succeed. And you're going to have a dynasty asset for sure. You know what I mean? Whether it turns out
I
to
think
be
Pittsburgh if they take him, I think Pittsburgh trades up. I don't think he'll be there at 20, but I think
Gotcha.
trade
Okay.
up.
Yeah,
Okay.
I like it.
Like 15 or something like that.
You know what?
I
That's
would,
a really
honestly,
good.
I would love.
You know what?
it.
That's
I
a
would
really good point, Mike. And that's why we have these discussions. I'm gonna bump that up to a 4.
Cheater! I didn't even know we were doing trades.
I didn't either. I didn't either until Mike brought it up.
I used it in my argument. I was like, they either get him at 20
He's just
or
trying
they trade up
anything
to
at
get
this
him.
point. Yeah. All right.
Wow. All right. So Mike's up by a point as we speak. So let's move on to Malik Willis. Malik Willis is from a small school, Liberty, 6'1", 215 pounds. I'm sorry, I'm on his overview. Let me bring his stats up really, really quick because his rushing is very important. So this is what they call a dual threat quarterback. From what I understand, he's not the level of rushing athlete of like a Josh Allen or a Lamar, or even a Hurts. But he had 878 rushing yards this year, 13 touchdowns, 197 carries, 2,857 passing yards, 27 passing touchdowns, 12 interceptions. From what I understand, it's dual threat quarterback, very raw. Why don't we start with Mike this time?
My turn. Yeah. So Malik Willis, really interesting cat. I went to Virginia Military Institute, which is just over the mountain from Liberty. So they got some interesting fans there. I'll say that during basketball games. But I think Malik Willis is an interesting prospect. I think he's a big project. He's really only got 2 years starting at a lower tier level, I guess you could say, of college football, right? Being at Liberty, but his rushing is undeniable and pretty impressive. So as far as my landing spot for him, I have him going to Atlanta at number 8. And the reason why I did this is, number one, there's rumors of Ridley might want out of Atlanta. And I think they're going full on blow it up, but they can't get rid of Matt Ryan because they guaranteed a whole bunch of his money over the next 1 or 2 years. So I think it's a perfect opportunity to get their quarterback of the future, let him sit and learn behind Matt Ryan at least 1 year. And then when their year next year is inevitably in the crapper, Willis maybe gets a couple starts there at the end of the year and hopefully can transition from there. So I don't see him as a starter right away, but I see him as a long-term, kind of what we thought with Trey Lance, kind of a start to his career. So Willis
feels a bit like a flail
Falcons
from Atlanta to me, because if they were going to take a quarterback, they're going to take a high quarterback. I think this past year's class was much better, and they should have taken a guy.
I think they thought they were a lot better than they actually were. Little arrogant.
Yeah, they were the only ones, as far as I can tell. Right on. All right, so Atlanta at number 8. Chad, what do you think?
I didn't even realize it until just now, but I tried to not pick the same spots as Mike, but I guess I did pick the same spot. And I have him going to Atlanta as well. And I think a lot of, again, like the same thing with the Kenny Pickett thing. I think people now are looking at that and saying that's too early, right? But I think a little bit of it is the Daniel Jones effect. Like, he played with not one NFL prospect on his roster, like nobody, not one. So he's not going to look super polished. He's just not playing with good players. And I think as we go into the process and people start seeing how athletic he is, and he does look like a pretty decent passer, who I think can develop. I just think it'd be really fun to have him in Atlanta's offense. Little bit of an ode to Mike Vick there. Not quite the athlete of Mike Vick, but it's the same kind of elements that you could kind of enact in your offense. So
yeah, okay. I mean, I like it. They definitely need a quarterback. Matty Ice is Matty Melt at this point. I mean, I don't know if there's a quarterback that looks as washed as he does besides Ben. So I really like it. I hate to keep giving 4s, but I think it's a 4. They really need a quarterback. They're gonna have a guy for him to eat. They're gonna have a guy for him to learn under for a year, because they really can't get rid of him cap wise this year. And I just think it's smart to keep him around for a year anyway. I don't know if he's the type of guy that's going to be able to mentor a young quarterback, but it's nice to at least have a professional for him to watch, for a year, since he's a project and he shouldn't be starting for any NFL team anyway. Yeah, I like it. Really good. Really good.
I think Malik Willis is the kind of player too that owners are going to love because he's going to excite your fan base. You bring him to Atlanta and man, Mercedes Stadium is going to be filled his first game. Like it's one of those things, like they're going to get excited again, which I think that, fan base is kind of not had for a while now.
Right. All right, cool. So we've got 3 quarterbacks down, and Mike, you're holding on to a slim 1-point lead.
Thought that was going to put me over the edge there, but
right on. So we got Desmond Ritter is next, quarterback Cincinnati. 6'4", 215 pounds. Definitely has the size. Sorry, I'm going to bring up. I got to bring up his stats too because he's Russian. But 3,334 passing yards, 30 passing touchdowns to 8 interceptions, 71.9 QBR. I don't know that QBR really matters all that much in college, but it's kind of crappy. So rushing. I thought he was more of a rusher. I guess last year he had almost 600 yards and 12 touchdowns, but this year 355 and 6.
He is a really mobile quarterback though.
Okay, so is he more of a I don't know, Tannehill mobile where he can run sometimes, or is he like an Aaron Rodgers young in his career? Is that what you're saying? Or is he
probably a little bit?
Or is he more like, a real rushing quarterback?
I mean, I think he could be a real rushing quarterback. I really do. I think he could be a real rushing quarterback. He's one of those guys. He's just ridiculous arm strength and a bigger guy who's able to get around pretty easily. So David Donaldson said he has Ritter as Andy Dalton, second round talent who's a bit of a project. It's
a different skill set.
People are super divisive on Ritter.
Interesting. Okay, so I had a comp in mind for Ritter that I was going to ask you, and now what Garoppolo?
No,
more of a rusher.
Yeah.
I know what it was. It was Tyler. Compare him to Tyler Huntley for me, please.
A better player than Tyler Huntley.
Okay, so as a rusher, because I think Tyler Huntley's a pretty good rusher.
I mean, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
All right, how about
he's in one of the best rushing football systems, so yeah, it can make Devontae Freeman look like he actually.
All right, how about Hurts? Compare him to Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I don't think he's quite as athletic as Hurts, but he's a bigger guy, so it's just one of those things. He's
is he a better passer?
He's mobile enough. He's mobile enough to he's just a developmental guy. Like I think he's a traits guy where a lot of people are gonna fall in love with just the talent. And
so you're comparing him to Josh Allen before we started.
No, I mean not like he's like Josh Allen. I'm just saying like, a lot of the same stuff that was said about Josh Allen is going to be said about him.
Physically, you
As
think he's
far
similar?
and not quite on Josh. I mean, Josh Allen is like probably one of the most elite arms, like, in the history of the NFL as far as arm strength goes. Like that's a tough comparison, but I mean, as far as like he's going to be in like the 95th, 96th percentile kind of arm strength. Like he's a really strong arm. Desmond Ritter does.
Joshua in the chat said Ritter similar to Mariota. I could kind of see that a little bit.
Yeah.
I think
Mariota didn't have that strong an arm though.
No, but I mean, yeah, maybe he's talking about mobility there.
Okay. Okay, cool. So David Donaldson wants to know if I watch players. No, I do not. So I do not watch college football. So that's actually a big thing to bring up, going forward on this podcast. Chad and Mike watch some college football. I do not. So that's why I'm going to ask some very basic level questions, because I know there are plenty of guys out there, and there are plenty of guys and gals out there, dynasty players out there that are like me and have not seen these players, right? And only know what people have talked about, so I need a lot of clarity on some of these guys.
Yeah. As far as Ritter goes, like there's just not going to be many throws he can't make. Like as far as getting the ball there, like he's going to be able to get the ball wherever you want him to get the ball. It's just if it's going to get there accurately,
okay,
and if he's going to make the right read to get there.
Right,
but
okay. Okay. Sounds a little like Randall Cunningham back in the day, but anyway, let's move on to Mike. Where do you think? I'm sorry. Did you give me a landing
Chad?
spot?
Yeah, it's Chad going first this time.
Yeah. Did you give me a landing spot, Chad?
No.
Oh yeah. I don't think I did. So I have him going to the Broncos at 9, which is again really high.
Okay.
I just think it's one of those things. A team is going to fall in love with the traits he has, and I think the Broncos are going to bring in a veteran. I think they're going to go and try to get the Rodgerses of the world. The Rodgerses of the world. Am I saying that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Rodgerses of the world. Anyways, they're going to bring in an elite quarterback, I think, and then, put somebody behind them and hopefully develop them into a good NFL quarterback who has an elite skill set. Which I think a team is going to look at Desmond Ritter and say, hey, we can get him there.
Okay, awesome. Mike, what do you think?
As the resident Broncos fan, my only pushback to that would be if they're landing a Rodgers, they won't have pick number 9. If they're getting an elite quarterback, that pick is gone to however they trade for that elite quarterback, whether it's Watson, Rodgers, or Wilson. But that being said, I kind of think he's going to be viewed as more of a project quarterback, especially with how kind of meh he was on the national level, in the college football playoff. It wasn't anything super impressive, but his line also couldn't block, a turd that night. So I have a feeling he's going to go more towards the back end of the first round. And this is where I think the Lions take their elite pass rusher or defensive player with their second pick, and then either get a Ritter late in the first round or with their first pick of the second round. If he falls that far, if he shows out at the Senior Bowl, then it might, change my opinion or something like that. But I kind of have a feeling that's where he might fall to.
So you're going with Detroit?
Yeah.
With their late pick.
Yeah, with late cap.
Which was 28, I think.
Yeah, like 27, 28. It depends on how the playoffs shake out, obviously. So
yeah, this is a little tough to judge. So the Broncos are a ready-made situation for a quarterback that's ready, right? They've got a decent line, awesome weapons, excellent defense. They're ready to win, right? I don't think a raw quarterback like Ritter coming in there, I don't think it's the best of landing spots for him right away, but I don't know that anything is great for him right away. But long term, I think it's an excellent organization, although I guess ownership is changing, but
it's cleared up.
Yeah, you've got Elway as a mentor. I mean,
Elway and Peyton Manning might be part owners and with others. So
yeah, I mean,
I think if Ritter sees the field like anywhere, he's going to be like Josh Allen year 1 level of bad, like where you're looking at him play and you're like, he should not be in the NFL. That's what everybody thought about Allen, and I hate keep making this comparison because Allen made that leap. But as far as like as bad as it can get, I mean, it can get that bad year one. Just I don't think he's ready.
Yeah, he's got to sit a year. Josh and Big Dog in chat makes a really interesting point. He says Denver gets Captain Kirk, right? So if Cousins goes to Denver, that's definitely a short-term kind of thing, right? Maybe they sign him on a 1 or 2 year deal or a 1 year deal with a second option and draft Ritter, because you don't have to give up the number 9 pick
to get
Kirk, right? So if you have Kirk Cousins for a year or two and Ritter learn under him, I really like that. I mean, I think we're looking at our first 5 here. I mean, I think Broncos as a landing spot for Ritter is a 5. I just really like Mike. I'm
just because of the Kirk comment.
You got it on the stupid trade.
I actually had it written down. I had the 5 written down before that. All right,
you talked shit about it to Denver, and now you're like, yeah, it's really
good. I like it. I really like it.
It's fantastic.
I really like it. And since the Lions were a 4 earlier than they're a 4 now, because I think Goff is perfectly capable of, leading them to another tank year and getting them a high pick to surround Ritter with some more talent.
Mike, take your L with grace. I took mine with grace.
It was just he just had his smoke and mirrors of, man, Denver definitely can't work.
That's how I do it. That's how I do it, baby.
I'm telling it to you. If it's not Kirk, that 9 pick isn't there.
Mike, put your grill in.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, come on, Chad. Eat it, Chad. Let's go.
So for those in the podcast version that can't see this, we're doing a live YouTube. Mike actually has a grill in his mouth that says Fantasy Champ.
Yeah, that's right.
And this
because
is
I beat Chad in the championship.
Yeah, this is the league you beat.
My main league.
I took over the team like this past off season, so
and he went all in.
I could only do so much.
He went all in and lost by over 100 points. Yeah, that's what happens.
He made it to the championship game. All right.
I also had Derrick Henry go down. So
I had CMC and Michael Thomas.
Shut up. Let's move on. Let's move on.
Woo! All right, guys. This is what we're talking about. See, this is why we play games on this show, because that's when we have fun. All right, come on. Let's go. Sam Howell. It's all tied up. Sam Howell, North Carolina. I think he had a better 2020 than he had 2021, right? I guess not by the numbers, though. So this year he had 30, 56, 20 passing yards, 24 touchdowns, 9 picks. 2020 he had 35, 86, 30 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. But I think he ran a lot more, right? Let's bring that up. I'm sorry. Should have had these all on the stat page to begin with. We're learning, folks. These games will get better as we go. But yeah, I mean, he had 146 rushing yards in 2020. He had 828 rushing yards in 2021. 5 touchdowns last year, 11 touchdowns this year. So he definitely stepped up his rushing game this year. Definitely lost some weapons. Some of the shine came off of him this year, I think, passing wise. Mike, where would you like to see Sam Howell go?
All right, so let's go ahead and put this in my veins. And I think Jesse makes a good point, losing Javonte and Michael Carter and Dynami Brown. There's another guy that he lost. I can't remember his name. He's kind of a late round darling last year at wide receiver as well. But get him to my Broncos at number 9. Team him back up with Javonte. Give us something to root for. I say this in the caveat of, hey, we don't get our Rodgers, Watson, Wilson, whatever the case may be. Let's just start over with another quarterback and see what we can do. I think Howell is pretty underrated. I know Josh in the chat is pretty excited about Howell. So give him to Denver at 9. I think it would really boost his stock if he was taken that high. And his rushing, like 828 yards. Whew, Like he was it for their offense, right? 3,000 passing yards and almost 1,000 rushing is pretty impressive for someone that has been viewed by most to have a down year. So I love it.
So 6'1", 220 pounds. He's Baker
take
Mayfield's. He's thick. He's not tall. He's Baker shaped. And I'll tell you, man, his profile picture on ESPN, he looks just like Baker Mayfield. I mean, they could be twins. So, I mean, take that for what it's worth. Chad, where would you like to see him go?
I would love Sam Howell with New Orleans. I think his best ball is on those slant routes. I mean, he makes them look crisp and he gets the ball exactly where it needs to be. Super tight window throws. I think he struggles, a little bit with he's kind of a touchless quarterback. Like his touch passes just need quite a bit of help. And I think the Saints I think Sean Payton's offense will allow for that to be able to be developed over time. And he could just really kill it there with Michael Thomas if he stays. I just think that offense is built for this guy to have success early on.
Yeah, if he had success with Michael Carter and Javonte, then he's going to have success with Alvin Kamara, right? I mean, I love that landing spot. I think Sean Payton gets too cute, too cocky for himself, really is what it is. He thinks he can win with any quarterback. He's one of those. He's sort of a Shanahan kind of guy. It's system but I really love him.
He almost made the playoffs with like 4 different quarterbacks this year.
Yeah,
right?
I hear you, but
so like you may say he thinks he can, but he kind of did.
I mean, I hear you. I think he's a great. I think he's a great coach.
He's a good coach.
And I would love to see Sam Howell under him. I think he would flourish. Peyton knows how to make that kind of quarterback successful. He will scheme him into easy reads, and he'll do the read option with the slant to Michael Thomas. If your option is someone that can run like he does, or hand off to Alvin Kamara, or bang Michael Thomas on a slant, you can't defend all 3 of those things. So yeah, I love it. I absolutely love it. I'm giving that a 5. Yeah, I really like Howell to New Orleans, and I'm giving Howell to Denver a 3. Nah, I'm kidding, Mike.
I'm just kidding. I don't care.
No, I'm just messing with you. I mean, if he's a 5, if Ritter to Denver is a 5, then obviously Howell to Denver is a 5 as well. I think Howell to Denver is like really what you should be hoping for as a Broncos fan. Like,
no, Rodgers is what I'm hoping for.
Well, right.
Okay.
If you don't get Rodgers or Watson or Russ, right? Yeah. Those are the 3. As an Eagles fan, I'm looking for those 3 guys too.
Yeah.
I think we have a little. I know that we have more to give up.
More draft capital, yeah.
Yeah, we have more draft capital. Also, we have Hurts. So if you say Hurts and 2 firsts,
give me Hurts to Denver. Do a 3-way trade.
It's funny. Well, I said that about 2 months ago that I could see a 3-way trade. Hurts to Denver, 2 to Phil, or no. Well, no, that's what it was going to be. Hurts to Denver, Watson. It was
Philly, Tua to Houston.
Yeah, but or we could do it. Tua to Philly, Hurts to but then that doesn't give Miami.
All right, GMs, let's work this trade out off air.
All right, so we are tied after the quarterback round. Good job, Jets.
All right,
we're gonna move on to running backs.
All right,
why make us wait? Right, so we're gonna start out with Brees Hall, running back, Iowa State, 6'1", 220. That's what I mean, that is ideal size for an NFL starting running back, right? 1,472 yards, 20 touchdowns on the ground, 1,572 yards in 2020, and 21 touchdowns on the ground. He can catch the ball too. 23 receptions last year, This year, 36 receptions, 302 yards, and another 3 touchdowns. So for college, those are good receiving numbers. Brees Hall, stud. Chad, what do you think?
Just a super, super smooth running back. I mean, he's pretty incredible. He's my favorite running back in the class. And unfortunately, not a good landing spot for him. But what I think probably happens, I think he's going to end up in Houston.
Houston, huh?
Yeah. I think they're going to go edge early in the first there, and then swing back around in the second and grab up Brees Hall.
Who makes the first? David Donaldson wants to know who makes the first lazy comparison to David Montgomery. I don't think he's anything like David Montgomery, because I actually have watched a few videos on Brees Hall, and he's got way more juice than David Montgomery. I think Isaiah Spiller's closer to Montgomery, but we'll get to him.
Yeah,
I think Brees Hall's not the most athletic guy in the world, but man, he's so smooth. Like, you watch him, and he just looks like an NFL running back. He looks like a 3-down back.
He does have power too, and he can catch the ball. Yeah, he does look like a 3-down back to me. And I was not a huge Monty fan. I liked Monty a bit, from a power back perspective coming out. I didn't think he was and I think he's shown that he's not much of a receiver. So, Mike, where do you think Brees Hall? Where would you like to see Brees Hall go?
Yeah, no, I'm similar with Chad in that I think he's the best running back in the class. I think he's a little bit disrespected this year. I know he finished high in the Heisman voting kind of last year and was like nowhere near it this year, even though he had pretty similar seasons. Him adding more receptions, I really like, is for him to showcase that pass catching profile. So I don't know if this will happen. So, this is probably won't happen, but man, I want this landing spot. I want him in Buffalo, man. I want him. I want Buffalo to be able to have that kind of dual threat thing. Like, I don't care anything about Buffalo, personally, just from a fantasy perspective to see how teams would defend. I don't want to say an elite running back, but a high prospect running back with some real juice. I think would be really fun. So somewhere in the second round, give me Brees Hall to the Bills.
Okay, Brees Hall to the Bills. I think Devin Singletary is one of the most underrated and disrespected running backs in the NFL, personally.
Yeah.
I think he is CEH, but I actually think he's faster. He's got the same sort of lateral agility, makes the same sort of cuts. I think he's a better receiver. I think he's faster. He's probably not as thick, but it's not like CEH uses his thickness to break tackles anyway. So, I really like Devin Singletary, and I think that takes away from the landing spot a little bit. A little bit. Brees Hall is definitely the superior back. Brees Hall is definitely a lead back in the NFL, where I think Singletary is, the second back in a good committee, is how I see him. Right? So if you bring in Brees Hall, I don't think he takes that job and just runs with it right away. He's definitely going to contend with Singletary, who far and away beat out Zach Moss this year. Zach Moss had his little run early in the year, but I think he showed what the coaches think of him by how many inactives he had. I don't know if he's a knucklehead or if it's just that his skill set is limited. Zach Moss is a straight up power back with no speed and really not much agility. That is a good catcher and a pretty good pass protector. So he's got a role on an NFL team, but he's not going to take away from Brees Hall or Singletary at this point. I'm sorry, you're going to say something, Chad?
I think between the three of them over there in Buffalo, because you kind of have to include Josh Allen in that too.
Right, right.
I think they're going to feel like they have enough at running back. I would if he went to Buffalo and started in Buffalo, I think that'd be a good landing spot for him. I think that'd be fun to watch.
It's probably a better year 2 landing spot than a year 1, to be honest.
Yeah. I think with the Texans, I don't really love the landing spot either, but it's just one of those things, like, where do you put him, right? Because ideally, I think if you're a Texans fan, you want them to attack like their offensive line again in the second round, because this class is so insane with these linemen. And they have to go with one of these edge rushers. If Thibodeau falls to them, or Hutchinson falls to them, they have to take one of the two. right? That's what I have going. So it's just one of those things like, where else could he go realistically? He's too good to fall, I think too good to fall to like the back end of the second, but that's where all the good landing spots are.
So let me ask you one thing. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mike.
No, I was just going to say to kind of just defend the Bills thing. I think Singletary did have a good run right at the end of the year, but man, early on in most of the season, their running game was completely non-existent, and they lost to the Patriots in that crazy weather game because their run game was non-existent. And so I could see them using that as a catalyst if we really have to be able to do both, because hey, we play in Buffalo and it snows here every year, right? So
I get what you're saying, but the Bills need a guard and a tackle,
Yeah.
Like, can they afford to go running back?
And also that was an offensive philosophy approach. They were still running their spread run and gun offense, and later in the year they realized that you can't do that against the two high safeties that the NFL switched to this year. And so that's when they started running the ball and dumping it off to Singletary and having success with him.
Yeah.
I think they really found something in him this year. I don't think they found a lead back. I think they found a really good complementary back. I really like the Houston landing spot potentially, right? One thing I like about Brees Hall is that I think he's insulated against the coaching flux, right? We don't know who they're going to bring in as a head coach or a GM and what their philosophy is going to be. But I think a back like Brees Hall is insulated against that because I think he can do everything, right? And he's enough of a talent that no matter who the coach is, he's going to be somewhat of a focal point. Jackpot would be Zimmer, right? But I think any coach is going to realize if he's got Brees Hall, he needs to use him. And I do like the idea of them building their line, but that's going to take time. Houston is not a good year one landing spot for him, and neither is Buffalo. But I think Houston could develop into just a volume. He could be a volume monster. He could be Zeke year 2 or 3 what Zeke was year 1.
The good thing is if he goes to Houston, he's the unquestioned 3-down back, which I think that's what he is a 3-down back.
Right, and that's what I'm saying by volume monster. They're gonna, if they get him, they're gonna put significant capital into him, and like I said, no matter who the coach is, they're gonna use him. What do you think about this? I heard Ray GQ say that he thinks Brees Hall is the 8th or 9th best running back if over the last 3 draft classes. Like including this and the 2 before us. Do you think that's true, or do you think he's better than that? Do you think he's better than Javonte?
No, I'd put him ahead of Miles Sanders and David Montgomery, but I don't know if I'd put him ahead of that many more. Etienne obviously.
That's the year before. That's the year before, though.
Yeah, but like I would take. I love Javonte. Like I'm still on the Akers train. I think
that's a good point though, because we had a historically great running back class in 2020, and that even spilled over into this last year into the 2021.
What do you say?
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, 2021 was good. I think Javonte, everyone's going to be saying free Javonte this offseason, right?
Yeah.
So I think it was good. Carter showed his flash as well. And Najee was obviously a walk-in stud. So, I definitely take him over Carter, obviously, and over anybody else, drafted outside of the second round besides Javonte and Najee. I'd take Brees over them. But
okay.
I think it might be tempting depending on what happens with these quarterbacks. Like, what if all the quarterbacks go to the end of the first round? Or in super flex drafts, or if Brees goes somewhere nice, do people draft him 1 overall? It could be really interesting, I think.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So I don't think either one of these are great landing spots. It's not Zeke to Dallas. It's not Najee to the Steelers. I see Houston as a 3, and Buffalo as a 2. That's what I have those graded. All right, so let's move on to Kenneth Walker. Now, this is a player I'm going to admit that I know nothing about because he sort of burst onto the scene this year. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't watched him that much either. But I've heard people talk about him more than I've watched him. I've only watched like 2 or 3 games.
Yeah, there's essentially a big 3 at running back, and he's kind of thrown in there with Isaiah Spiller. And his first 2 years of college at Wake Forest, he did pretty much nothing, had less than 600 yards rushing, and had 1,600 yards rushing, 18 touchdowns. And then he also, caught 13 passes, I guess you could say, but not much of a pass catcher, but really kind of broke it open on the ground this year.
Yeah, killed it this year, right? So he's 5'10", 210 pounds. Little bowling ball is kind of the shape he's got. I haven't watched him play, but so have you guys watched him play? Does he look like he has hands at all?
I honestly can't say either.
All right. Mike, where you got him going?
I thought this would be just kind of fun one. I'd like to see him go to Atlanta. So in that early second round, Mike Davis ain't it, obviously there. And there's not much else there. So especially if we see
Cordarrelle's no lead back.
Cordarrelle's
no lead back.
He might be their number 1 wide receiver come next year if Ridley leaves. So
right.
Besides Pitts. So I think especially for that franchise, you could argue they want them to see something exciting. Like scoring points is what's exciting. I'm sorry. I don't enjoy going to football games and watching a 10-3 football game. But if I see my team lose, 34-41, like, hey, at least I got some cheering in there, right? So I can see him really going for some offensive pieces, and I think he'd be a good ground and pound guy there. They kind of need that. They just have kind of had these fall over guys these last couple of years.
So a nice,
exciting.
And actually, I will say so. I like what you have going here. You picked Atlanta to take Malik Willis and Kenneth Walker to Atlanta as well. I like that combo because I don't think rushing quarterbacks are likely to dump the ball off a lot, and running backs, good running backs with a decent amount of power have success with rushing quarterbacks historically. So I like that.
I lied. I was looking at the wrong one.
Yeah, I
have
know.
Miami. Okay, I know.
Say. I have your show sheet here.
I'll switch to the other one. Yeah, we're good. Let's go with
it. You're in it. You're in with Atlanta.
Boom,
Chad,
Falcons.
Yeah,
Chad.
I'm gonna like admit I've watched him like I didn't watch him at all at Wake Forest because I don't watch Wake Forest much. I don't know many people that do, but anyways, and then I watched him play Ohio State and he was terrible. So and then
Ohio State though.
Yeah, I know. And then I watched him, I think it was like Purdue or something like that. I don't remember what the other game was. I think it was Purdue. And he looks like he looks pretty good, I guess. I mean, I don't know. He looked really bad against Ohio State. So I think that's a bit unfair though. I know that, some people love him, especially some people in the analytic community. I think PFF has him as their number 1 graded running back coming out. So yeah, I don't know. I just stuck him there with Miami.
All I can say is Jesse. Jerry Sinclair is gonna hate this part of the podcast.
Who watches Michigan State?
Right? He's gonna be like, "What the hell's wrong with you guys?" Don't we have Aussies that watch Michigan State too in the DWC chat?
I think so.
I feel really bad. They're gonna be screaming at all of us and be like, "Y'all suck." So homework, awesome. More Kenneth
Michigan
Walker.
State.
David Donaldson said do not watch Wake, so obviously don't watch his last 2 years. Just watch his last one.
I mean, Atlanta, Miami are both. I mean, Atlanta's kind of a trash offense. I think it in a couple of years it could be good.
Wait, what did you just say?
Atlanta's kind of a trash offense.
Oh, okay. For some reason, I thought you said Miami. I was like, wait, Tua
No,
is your
Atlanta's kind of a
adopted
trash
son.
offense. In a couple
Okay.
years, it could be good. Miami's actually a pretty good offense. You know
Yeah.
what I think about Tua. So, I mean, I definitely think Miami's a better landing spot. However, well, actually, Flores is gone, so I didn't think he'd be a good fit in Flores' system. So I'm giving Miami a 4, Atlanta a 3. Man,
Okay.
Chad is taking a commanding 2-point lead here.
Commanding.
Wow. Hey, let's move on to Isaiah Spiller. Isaiah Spiller, running back, Texas A&M. This is where Mike Casper works. He's wearing an A&M shirt. You better know about this, dude.
Represent.
Yeah. So 6'1", 215. Man, one thing you can say about these running backs this year is they got the size.
Yeah.
Right. So in 2020, he had 188 carries, 1,036 yards, 5.5 per carry, 9 touchdowns, 20 catches, 193 yards. This year, pretty much the same. 1,011 yards, 5.6, 6 touchdowns. I mean, touchdowns really don't matter much. 25 catches, 189 yards, and another touchdown. So it looks like he can catch the ball. I'm not sure that he's going to be like a route runner out of the backfield.
No, he's a good route runner. He's a good. Runner.
Is he? Okay.
Yeah.
Why don't you take it away, Chad?
I mean, he's quick feet, good route runner, can catch pretty well. He's a really good receiving back. He's really good against zone coverage. I watched a lot of him. I'm 50 minutes away from A&M. And most of the people I'm around are A&M fans. So I've watched him more than probably any other running back other than Zach Charbonnet. I love Zach. But he's good against contact. He's, pretty he's pretty good burst, pretty good. I mean, he's just a good running back. He's a good natural running back. He looks like a running back.
What are the knocks?
He does everything really well.
What are the knocks?
I guess he's just not the fastest guy in the world.
Okay. I was going to say he's not really elite. I feel like in any one thing.
Yeah.
And then,
but he's a good running back.
Yeah, he's a good running back.
See, that's what I could say about Kareem Hunt. I mean, well, I'm sorry, he has elite contact balance, but otherwise, he does not have an elite trait, right?
Yeah. I'm not going to lie. In the games that I watched live, I went to a couple of games this year. He never really he had some good runs. But there was never anything super amazing. Now, granted, we were playing with our second string quarterback pretty much all season. So the offense, had lots of sputtering issues where they were clearly loading the box to stop Spiller. But he was a really patient runner, sometimes too patient. But I think he is one of the best well-rounded backs in the league. But like Chad said, I don't think he's elite at anything. He's not going to really pop, I don't think, at the combine or anywhere else.
And he's slow. I mean, at least he looks slow. So
yeah,
I think
he's gonna be a late second, early third. I think.
Yeah,
I think where he'll go.
But he's a good player, though. He's a really good player.
Yeah.
The only thing that concerns me about him, because I've watched some videos of him, is that he seems to run a little upright to me. He doesn't. He's 6'1" and he looks 6'1" when he's running. That concerns me a little, but we'll see.
Yeah, and he was in kind of a committee with A-Chain there too. And,
okay,
he got a majority of the stuff, but
yeah, I mean, he only got 180 carries a year, so that's it's not like they were feeding him as their main, but he's definitely got the size to take on an NFL load. He doesn't seem like he's got any college injury history at all. So he looks like a pretty clean prospect. I like him. Chad, where would you put him?
I have him going to the Cardinals.
Ooh. Okay.
Interesting.
Cardinals.
I had him going to Miami.
So. Miami. Okay. So Miami, we already said is a 4. So I think he fits there fine. Cardinals, that's interesting. So
yeah, Chase Edmonds, I think they let him walk this year. He's going to be a free agent.
Yeah. That makes sense.
And I think they pick him up. I don't think he's going to go super early, so I think they're going to have a chance at him.
I think there's no.
And
I think they're definitely bringing Connor back.
Yeah. But I think he's good enough to to really be relied on in the passing game. I mean, he's just, that's where I think he shines, and that's what I think a lot of their offense can be. Just dumping the ball off to him and letting him do some of the underneath work that he does really well. And I think he can run routes, so I think he can be really versatile too. So
that's a nasty landing spot, man. I would love to see that. I mean, if he can run routes and catch the ball, he would just fit in so well there. I don't think, I think James Conner showed this year you don't have to have speed to be tremendously productive in that offense. Because they've just got so much going on. I think it's well schemed. They have a great quarterback, and they have so many other weapons that he'll be left alone.
But has Connor ever had a full healthy season?
No. Exactly. And yeah, Connor doesn't. I think they'll definitely bring Connor back, but he could absolutely overtake him. Connor was splitting time with Edmonds anyway. So
that was like a really selfish.
Connor was gone.
Yeah, that was like a really selfish pick. I would just love to see him in that offense.
I would love to see that too. I think that would
be fun. Yeah,
I'd love to see any of these. Well, I think Brees Hall might be a little wasted in that offense because I don't think they're going to feed him the way he should be. But if he's as good a receiver as you say, I really like that. Really like that. All right, so Mike, I'm sorry, man, but you're down 3. Running backs were not kind to you.
That's all right. Hey, part 2, we're gonna correct this ship.
Yeah, spoiler alert. We are gonna make this a 2-parter because we can't really, like we said, hour and 15 minutes or so. We really can't make this a 2-3 hour podcast. Just I
gotta go back to the film. I gotta make better arguments for my wide receivers and tight ends. Make that deficit really wow.
Put in the work, Mike.
I know how the judging's working now, so gotta work the system. Gotta work the system.
You do? Because I don't.
Dave Donaldson said, "You're ruining the game with your judging is broken."
My judging is broken.
Well, the scale is on Jesse, so I mean he is the scale.
He is the scale.
Yes, that's correct. So that's correct.
I guess it's the best judging possible,
Yes, sir. So spoiler alert, we are making this a 2-parter. Like we said, hour and 15 minutes is what we can do on a nationally released podcast. We used to do these for 2-3 hours on the Patreons. I think that we had a 4-hour one that I had to cut down. We had one. Well, we also used to do interviews with Patreon guys and stuff. So, we would play a long game like this, and then we would interview a guy that was from Australia for, another hour or 2 just to have fun.
Good old days.
Yeah, but we can't do that and release that on Apple Podcasts. They'll laugh at us.
No, this is
Memphis will kick us out.
Yeah, good start, good maiden voyage.
Absolutely.
Hey, I'm just excited to be here. Excited to talk Dynasty and looking forward to talking values and trades and these rookies and just having at it.
Yeah, I had a blast. I'm going to give a shout out to Truly Hard Seltzer this evening. Definitely made my night a little more fun. Chad, what are you drinking over there?
Oh, Dos Equis, man. It's never too early to start looking for sponsors. So just shout everybody out.
Absolutely.
I had good old Texas water. I don't know what it is.
Texas tap water, baby.
No, it's bottled water. It's bottled water. Their tap water here is disgusting. So
Oh, is it?
It is. Yeah, it's soft water or whatever.
Yeah, well, I live in Baltimore County. I have a Brita.
It's nasty. So
right on.
This was fun. Thanks, Jesse. Chad.
Yeah, it was a blast. Thank you all for joining us. Chad, are you bolting or can we do an after hours?
No, I'm heading out, man.
Okay, cool. So we are actually going to end this now. It's weird, but we will not have an after hours tonight. You know what? Going forward, we'll figure out a way to do an after hours with the chat. But tonight we are going to say so long, and I do want to also just apologize real quick for the lack of production values in this one. we have some intro and outro music being produced exclusively for us. We have some original music coming, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. And we also have some artwork coming. I'm not gonna spoil any of that yet, but we will shout out the artists when everything's complete and uploaded. And anyway, thank you all for joining us. Smash that like button. Please subscribe to Dynasty Warzone. We are just one cog in the huge Dynasty Warzone machine. So not only do you get our ridiculous podcast, you also get some real Dynasty advice from Memphis and Jerry every week, sometimes twice a week. You also get rookie advice from Dallas Hyder. In season, you get some daily fantasy. Yeah, you get the SmackDown from Kyle. The SmackDown is actually one of the best shows on this network. So if you do redraft, listen to Kyle, and also listen in because we've got Kyle Balzer, Dr. Kyle Balzer, on our network. We have our own personal doctor that comes in and gives some betting advice and some injury advice. So, like I said, we're just one cog in the huge Dynasty Warzone machine, and we'll hope you listen to us again. I can't believe anybody listened to us for the first time.
Oh, I can't believe I listen to you, Jesse.
This is mostly chats ever bumped, so fun stuff.
All right, gentlemen, I had a blast. And that's Cheers. The whole point. Cheers.
See you guys.
All right.